Hello, I'm the factory. Long time no see. This is the one I mentioned in the WeChat group. And also in the comments, I mentioned to you the VR version of the FF08 before introducing this VR version. I'll still take out the VE version to show you. Let me review it for you. Again, the size does look quite similar, though. But the new version is indeed a little bigger. It's a little bigger, but its compatibility will also be improved. The first version of the FF08, its appearance is very square, and even holding it feels a bit rough, but in fact, there are a little chamfer, and it won't hurt your hands. The interesting part of it is its screw-free appearance, and its opening and closing structure. First, look at this side. There is a small notch. I can push this notch to open it, this side cover, to 90 degrees. It will stop. There will be a limit. When I close the door, there is a gap in the middle. This gap is actually the side cover, a rotation space for the door. With this gap, so that the door can open this side. Look, there is no gap on this side of the door. How can it be opened? When it opens at the same time, the gap moves on this side. It's also the side of the graphics card. If this gap is left on this side, it will provide an additional heat dissipation duct. For example, those graphics cards with single fan, its heat dissipation fins are generally facing front and back. This gap can play a role in auxiliary heat dissipation. Of course, when it comes to heat, in fact, the heat dissipation of this is very weak, which is very awkward. The CPU side of it only supports a CPU about 40 millimeters high. This radiator, it can only install a very low power CPU. The graphics card side can only install a single fan card with 2 slots thickness, or this kind of half-height small graphics card with 3 fans. The graphics card also has poor heat dissipation. And then with my design, half of the side is ventilated and the other half is sealed. For example, if this kind of card is put in, only 1.5 fans can suck in air. The other fan can only suck the air inside. This is a machine that focuses heavily on appearance. A machine. It can only install some low performance configurations. It's a bit one-sided. This is also the reason why the FF08 updated VR. Updates so quickly. One of the reasons, so let's start to introduce our FF08 VR. Our FF08 VR, seeing this appearance. Do you think of my FF10? In fact, it is indeed. In fact, it does use the same steel pillar layered structure. The steel pillar's laminated structure. And the fun of the FF08 and the opening and closing side panels is very different. But with this structure, the biggest advantage is that the heat dissipation is more transparent. In addition, I added some thickness. So now on the CPU side, it could support 40 watts before. It doesn't improve much now, but at least it can be installed. This ID Cooling's X for 7. For 7, this cooler with a height of 47 millimeters, compared with the previous heat dissipation height limit before. I think the CPU has heat dissipation. At least tens of watts can be increased. Of course. This is also combined with, the fan is not blocked. The previous CPU fan also blocked a small part, but now it doesn't block at all. The installation method of this machine has also been simplified. You can see 4 screw holes on the bottom. This is the 5th, but the 5th screw actually doesn't need to be moved. Don't remove it. Use an H2.5 screwdriver. Remove the 4 screws. And then the case can be opened. The stacked partition part are assembled with the top cover. We will pre-install it before leaving the factory. This is a pre-assembled overall structure. So the disassembly and assembly are very simple. Just remove the 4 screws on the bottom. The mounting bracket for the motherboard is a movable one, and rely on the top 2 positions of the balls on both sides to fix it in place, so it can be removed without screws. The power supply we are going to install is a Yiheng 7660L. Then the direction of the modular cable should be downwards, so that these heat dissipation holes align with the heat dissipation holes on the bottom. The power supply is in place. Push it to the end, then on this side, you can install the power supply screws. Then this EU power supply. It's power supply screws. There is no screw hole in the upper left corner and can only be fixed. I left 4 holes for the sake of appearance. Of course, it's not just for looks. Actually, I have a customized EU power supply solution. I left screw holes in all 4 corners. So I just leave 1 more screw hole for the power. I left 1 more screw hole. I'm too lazy to install this power screw. I won't install it for now. Install the motherboard bracket. We can see the installation bracket of the motherboard. There are several small stainless steel sleeves. These small sleeves? I can unscrew this screw to remove it. Since our case can supports both the Mingxuans and the special BKB version of the ITS motherboard and the regular version of the ITS motherboard, but for the regular version of its motherboard. The back needs all a graphics card extension cable. If we install the graphics card extension cable, there will be a problem. If it's a graphics card with a backplate, this one doesn't have it. But if it's a graphics card with a backplate, its backplane between the back plate of the motherboard, there may be no space to a graphics card extension cable. At this time, we need this small steel ring. This small steel ring is to be put on these 4 screw positions of the motherboard. It can raise the ordinary ITS motherboard. To raise it by 2 millimeters, in this way, there will be space for the extension cable. This position of ours is actually designed to store this small steel ring in case you lose it. And the screws on this board can also be used as spare motherboard screws. Then I'll continue to install the board. Installing the motherboard is actually very simple. After installing all the components of the motherboard, putting it across line here, align the screw holes, it will basically fit. Then just tighten the screws. Of course, if the power cable for the CPU is difficult to plug in, you can plug it in advance. There is also a space for storing cables below. You can push the cable back a little bit. Of course, you can also customize some lines with more accurate links. The motherboard and CPU are quickly and easily installed. Let's turn to the back to show this card. Asus 506 0LP top non-public 3 fan, which is cute. Before installing the graphics card, remove the installation block of the graphics card, fixed block off it. This fixed block, and the only version of FF08, has a slight modification. Now, it's not so tight when installing.
Align the PCIe slot of the graphics card. Insert it in place and then install the stopper.
We are installing a half-height card. There is still space above, right? Let's look at the motherboard mounting bracket above. In this position, there are, for empty, screws holes and these 4 screws. As for these 4 screws, are actually just stored here. Take them off and put them aside into the reserved for screw holes. Then you take a 2.5-inch hard drive, align it to this position, and tighten the screws. So when installing this half-height graphics card, you can rely on these 2 sets of screw positions to install to 2.5-inch hard drives. That's BKBs. The graphics card slot of this motherboard also has a buckle. You need to push this clip back to release it. Finally, we are going to take out this thing. I think this thing in the past half a month. In a month, you should have seen it a lot. It's really quite beautiful. This is the iGame GeForce RTX 507 from Colorful. So open it like this. Then like this. The best part of this card is that it also has an all aluminum alloy shell. The overall metal texture is not bad. It feels heavy in your hand. An interesting point is that some people say it's Xiaomi's logo, and some people say that the frame looks like the Shen. Let me show you how to install it. Install this card. It looks quite good. Let me put this cover on it first. Let's see the effect after putting on the cover. It looks like this kind of hazy and foggy feeling, at least the current semi-open. Cooling will make it feel stuffy. The heat dissipation performance of the graphics card, it should have the same performance. There are still some things not introduced. I'll take it apart. This motherboard from Maxon. It moves the 16-lane graphics card interface moved to the back. The original position, the socket for the graphics card. It leaves a 4-lane PCI Surapalpus interface. This interface, in fact, most of our computer cases have, of course, there are not many cases that can install this BKB. There aren't many that can, in fact, most of them don't use this interface. I'm just making use of it, forcibly. After all, I have to consider the overall volume and size of the case. So I can't just make a direct plug. To directly make a direct plug here, if it is directly used as a straight plug, the thickness of the case would have to be increased. The aspect ratio of its front. It will look very uncomfortable and very awkward. I still used an extension cord to make a shift for this PCIe. Move the PCIe socket from this position to this position. No, you can see the original slot position of it to this position is the height of this shift. If I don't shift it so much, my case would have to be thicker by so much. After this shift, I can install a single slot. I can install a single slot, an X for expansion card. This expansion card is actually quite powerful. As you can see, this expansion card, there are 2 network card slots with electrical ports, which are both actual network cards. Open the fan cover below. There are also to M2 installation positions. So this expansion card, it uses a PCIe for interface, and then made a bridge chip, and then share the bandwidth. 2 to 10 gigabit network cards, and to M2 hard drives, although they can't run at full capacity simultaneously. But in our daily use, should be enough. After installing these, it's basically the full form of FF08, the fully functional form of Playability. There is a single slot PCX for expansion device. And here is the top of the line. The graphics card with the performance of 5070, the CPU cooling here has also been slightly increased, which is increased to 47 millimeters. Install the case. This is the complete form of this case. The size is slightly larger, and the appearance becomes a little rounder. The ventilation is better And the playability has become richer. The new version of FF08. I don't know if you will like it, but I think the style of the appearance and stylistic feeling, one actually prefer this one. There is one last small thing that I haven't introduced. As you can see, I don't have a front I/O interface, but I don't even see the power button. Right. This power button, I haven't finished the circuit board yet. This power button is actually in this position. You can see that. This graphics card baffle is the logo of my XIKII company. The power button is actually the logo of i508 VR. This issue's introduction. This video is over. Remember to click the 3 buttons. When will it be sold? Let me think. Probably in mid to late January. Start selling, and it should be shipped in February. Well, thank you for watching. Bye.